meeting.
Recording is in progress.
Okay, thank you very much, Prince Andrew, for the platform. Thank you for always committing to see us through the meetings. Thank you, everyone, for coming on board. And before we kick off, I would request Queen Mother Nina to help me facilitate the TOT session because Mr. Carlos is not with us today. He has another meeting that he's overseeing. So I don't want to be a monopoly. So I would request Queen Mother, if after your introduction of your topic for today, if you can help me facilitate the session, that would be great. I hope that's all right.
Absolutely, yes. Did you make me the co-host? I saw I didn't have.
You do now.
I think you are a co-host.
Okay, great. Because
Yeah,
Judy has sent me the presentations today, so I have them in a folder to pull up for whoever is doing the presentations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for holding court.
Also, I believe we should stream the presentations after our first beginning, but you have to let me know in advance about a minute so I can then begin streaming it to Facebook. I just need a little time in advance when you want me to stream it to Facebook.
Okay, I believe Queen Mother Nina will actually send the alert to you. It shall be well. Okay, so everyone that has come on board, you're welcome to today's meeting. This is UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and we do have our weekly meetings every Monday. That is 7 p.m. East African time. And you can check out your time frame on Google so that we can always be together in participation for our TOT sessions that we do have every Monday. So Mr. Carlos, who is our continental president, is not with us today. He's having another meeting. So we are holding forth for him. And I believe the meeting is going to run smoothly with the help of the facilitators that are on board because we work together as a team towards the goals that would make UnityNet Africa and Diaspora reach the destiny that it has envisioned. So right now I'm going to introduce UnityNet Africa and Diaspora to us because I believe not every one of us is acquainted with who we are. And I'm gonna take us through the vision, the mission, and the goal for the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. Unfortunately, I am not able to share the screen in my introduction, but I believe that you're going to maybe get the feedback, or rather the presentation that I'm going to make today. Sorry, I have a bit of a sore throat, but I'm going to sail through. So the background for UnityNet Africa and Diaspora is as follows. UnityNet Africa and Diaspora is born out of the Global Unity Network International, that is UNI, which is based in Canada. The UnityNet Africa and Diaspora is a humanitarian enterprise and regional sustainable and regenerative development cooperation, supporting and promoting the local and delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens. We as UnityNet Africa and Diaspora are leveraging a unique process for globalization of the delivery and achievement of the global goals, starting with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are the 17 SDGs that most of us are familiar with. The UnityNet Africa and Diaspora is based in Africa, whose headquarters is in Uganda. And in a short while, I'm going to post the details for our secretariat that was voted to be in Uganda. And we have our continental president, who is Dr. Richard Sanko, with other board members leading the team. What is the vision of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora? Our vision is a future where every African citizen on planet Earth will have an opportunity to not only participate in, but also to benefit from the development and implementation of the regenerative economy that is required for humanity to be in balance with all of the rest of the natural world, as mandated by the limitations imposed upon humanity by the laws of nature. This will see a world united through a global network that is focused on the practical establishment of virtual and physical infrastructure, which is designed and structured for the efficient delivery of education and training in support of humanitarian entrepreneurship, and which will be done in the context of the various sustainable and regenerative physical, cultural, and STEAM-based solutions that will be required for humanity to achieve the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, which are the SDGs. The delivery of the vision will be done via the establishment of both the virtual and physical education and training infrastructure that will see us facilitate the delivery of the local hands-on and practical learning that is required to achieve a future regenerative and circular economy. The network will also provide opportunities towards uniting people in local communities with each other and with other communities around the world by supporting and promoting female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are focused on the local delivery of the global goals within their own communities and who have a particular focus on achieving food security and helping to meet the nutritional requirements of all members of their own local community in a way that seeks to leave no one behind. Our mission is to formalize the process of localizing the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, which are the SDGs, and establishing a framework and platforms for delivery and required local education and training for achievement of a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. The Unity Network Africa and Diaspora organization will assemble honest, passionate, skilled people from around the world who will in turn become brokers of a better future and who can work together as per SDG 17, number 17, which is partnership for the goals, which is towards the common goal of achieving a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind through a process of implementation that will be co-created, often in real time, by the members of a network of networks, which is the Global Unity Networks. This will allow humanity individually and collectively to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, and perhaps most importantly, spiritually. Our activities are around establishing country chapters in all the 55 African countries. And by regions, we have the North Africa, the South Africa, the West Africa, East Africa, Central, and the Diaspora Unity. This also will see us develop policies and projects and establish strong partnerships for funding opportunities for all the 55 African chapter countries. For all the 55 country chapters, we shall collaborate and support local organizations working at community level. Even within our neighborhood, whereby we are going to empower them, that is economically, socially, and even civic engagement, utilizing concepts of regenerative designs and sustainability to enhance and make positive change in worlds around us, preserving cultures, promoting education, and encouraging wealth creation models at the local level to impact our immediate neighbors, tribes, villages, towns, and cities. Whereas the highest aims of sustainable development is to satisfy fundamental human needs today without compromising the possibility of future generations to satisfy them, the end goal of regenerative design is to develop systems with absolute effectiveness, which supports the core evolution of the human species along with other thriving species. This perspective comes from an understanding that the SDGs are only the second 15-year phase of the 1,000-year plan, and therefore will be replaced by a new set of goals from the year 2030. This delivery of the various learning programs for the regenerative development solutions that we are promoting and supporting is intended to be done through two essential platforms and programs, which are number one, the Interchangeable for Peace, that is delivering through a virtual collaborative network, VCN, which is a 3D virtual business and exchange platform that has a number of built-in tools for communications and exchange. And number two, we shall have physical, which are called the Unity Gardens, which will be set up in local communities and will serve a real-world collaborative classroom whereby both they shall be both in-person and virtual learning, which shall be taking place, and that will allow the youth and the FFHE to undertake hands-on learning in the various practical solutions for achieving a future regenerative economy at the local level in their own communities. So lastly, our goal is to deliver the learning programs, which is education and training, to as many people as possible and at a cost-effective and as cost-effectively as possible for all the youths and the female and feminist entrepreneurs as is possible around the world, using the best-in-class third industrial revolution technology, and by working with the top educators and regenerative development practitioners. The programs and solutions are delivered in the form of entrepreneurship-focused mentorship programs that allow learners to gain skills in real-world settings, and that will also allow for the generation of income at the local level in their own communities through such things as the production of local climate smart productions, along with various related services and tourism opportunities as per tourism for SDGs, which focus on mentorship programs on digitally enabled hands-on STEAM education. STEAM meaning science, technology, engineering, art, which is creative innovation, and mathematics. So in a nutshell, that is what UnityNet Africa and Diaspora we are all about, and that is what defines us. And I believe we have a picture of what we are all about moving forward. Now, without taking any more time so that we can work within the time frame, I'm going to ask our guest, if you're here for the first time in our meeting, that is our weekly UNAD meetings, I want to request you to kindly unmute your mic and introduce yourself to us. And before you go on to introduce yourself, I would want to remind us that if you're not speaking, kindly mute your mic so that we can be able to communicate one to another and be able to listen and hear what the other person is communicating. And if you want to interject, ask a question, or give a comment, we kindly request you to raise up your hand, and we are going to give you the opportunity to do so. So we go to our visitors. If you're here for the first time, kindly raise your hand and unmute your mic for your introduction. Do we have anyone here who is attending the meeting for the first time? I can see Daniel Ochieng. Daniel Ochieng, you can unmute your mic and introduce yourself to us, please.
Okay, thanks so much for the opportunity. To everyone, I'm Daniel. Daniel is from Rusinga Highland, Homa Bay County, Kenya. I'm a climate activist, a permaculture and syntropic agroforestry practitioner, as well as a trainer. I'm so much happy to be the founder of Rusinga Highland Development Support Program that was created some years back, mainly to create sustainable development in the community, mainly focusing on the youths and the young women. So I'm so much happy to meet you all. I hoping that we'll get to share idea for the betterment of our future. And I'll get to share more when time will reach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. Do we have anyone else attending our meeting today for the first time? Kindly raise your hand, unmute yourself, and introduce yourself to us, please. Any other person attending our meeting for the first time? Okay, if there be no other visitor, I would want to request Mr. Lloyd to say hello to us. And I forgot to mention that UnityNet Africa and Diaspora was born from UnityNet International, which is based in Canada, led by one Mr. Lloyd Helferty. And he's going to talk to us and introduce his team to us so that we can know the genesis of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. So we welcome you, Mr. Lloyd, to say hello to us and to introduce your team and your organization, sir.
Thank you, Jane. So I'm Lloyd Helferty. Actually, make one correction. This UnityNet was actually created with myself and a couple of people in Africa, somebody in Kenya and somebody in Sierra Leone that we know very well, Carlos. The gentleman in Kenya dropped out after a while because he is a politician and decided that he would run in the election. So he's no longer with us. And Carlos is with us, but this is an African initiative. It actually started with somebody requesting, and that was Carlos and this gentleman in Kenya saying, let's create a network for to bring together all the countries of Africa. And, so I said, okay, I'm going to help us out, and what I'll do is I'll start building these social media pages on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and we'll bring them all together under sort of an umbrella under the same name, the Unity Network. Originally, it was called the Unity Pandemic, which was actually a construct of a gentleman in Bermuda who was connected through Andrew, so Corin Smith. So we did the tree planting in 2020 between Toronto and Bermuda, and from that flowed. By the end of 2020, we were having these conversations with people, in particular, as I said, in Kenya and Sierra Leone, who said, well, these sort of, they bookend the country, or the continent, I should say, of Africa, east and west, in sub-Saharan Africa. Let's see if we can create a network to support the coming together, especially in support, again, of the agenda for 2030, in particular looking at ways we can leave no one behind. So we've been building this network. It's been mostly myself and Carlos, and I have to mention Carlos every time because he's been so instrumental in helping to create this network. But we did decide early on, and there was another gentleman in Los Angeles that was involved in this as well, Terrence Mayfield. I believe he's also affiliated with 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, so Andrew's network. So that was an original discussion we had with Carlos, myself, and Terrence, and a number of other people as well were involved in this original conversation, which still exists. We call it the original name, the Global Unity Business Group, before we rebranded to the UnityNet International. So I brought in my colleague Angela, who was doing the climate smart kitchens, but there's a gentleman by the name of Frank and Helen and Peter, is the gentleman in Kenya, but Helen is actually in the US and was assisting us in building this network across Turtle Island, North America. So she had helped start UnityNet USA. And as I said, there's some other people that came into the group. Stephanie Schuller eventually joined us and said, this is a fantastic model. We'd like to, what she wanted to do was to deliver much of the programs that she wanted to do as well through the Unity Gardens. So this is a group that was actually at first created back in March 2021 when we were doing the Trees of Peace and Reconciliation tree plantings, originally just to have a campaign to try to promote the coming together of all people. But we decided, okay, we need to make it into a business. We can't just volunteer all of our time forever on this. So that was the genesis of the original Global Unity Business Group, which now is called UnityNet International, where we built up together, myself and Carlos. And again, I mentioned this gentleman, Peter Ongera is his name, in Kenya, that came together with the people in 5 Points Youth Foundation to create a business so we could actually generate some income. So of course, as soon as you talk business, we get some interest from others, and this is where Mark Pertsangi came along from Carbon Shot Earth and said, well, I have a model called regenerative finance. I'd like to leverage your network to test it out, to make sure that it's working the way I hope it does. So he's got this regenerative finance model we'd like to apply throughout our network. So again, that becomes part of the business, even though we did develop a business model for the original Global Unity Business Group. And earlier, Jane mentioned this virtual collaborative network. This is actually something that was introduced to us by Andrew and the team at 5 Points Youth Foundation as well. We were going to be using a platform called Easy Expo, but that now is also being pushed a little bit to the side for now. We're not sure if we're going to be using that particular platform because we're rejigging the business model as we move forward to see if we can really leverage the system that was created again by Carbon Shot Earth and our colleague Mark, who is the head of the UnityNet Finance Group. So he is working to create that business model that would allow us to recycle any income that we produce from the sales of any products or services that are delivered through the network back into the network, so we're not losing the financing. So I'm not entirely clear on the actual finance model, but he has developed that and is hoping to utilize our network with his own financial partners, some of which are I've been told anyway, I've not met, are there's the big financial prize that's given out every year. I'm just thinking just forget it. Not coming to my tongue right now, but there are some people in Mark's orbit who are some of the top finance people in the world. So they would like to leverage our network to be able to implement these programs. So this is part of the reason why we are reassessing the way we move forward in the development of the network. Of course, we still focus on Africa, our only continental network, even though we do have placeholders in Asia and Southeast Asia as well. The focus right now is to develop a model that will work for especially these communities in Africa that we're building right now. So this is who I am right now. I am essentially, my role is to build the network, to expand the network and work with our partners, some of whom are fairly new. For instance, Lisa-Anice, who's come in from UNESCO to support us, but is not part of the business, but may become, I'm hoping, an advisor to what we're doing, so we can ensure that we've got the clarifications on, for instance, our policies, and to ensure that what is done in Africa has clarity and consistency, and we're not breaking any of the rules of what she refers to as international NGOs. And I'm actually seeing right now that Lisa-Anice is also putting up her hand, so I'm going to let her speak.
Thank you, Lloyd. Actually, I will be advising in as many portions of the world as you'll be going into. My work does involve school-age children from everywhere. The program we are building in America right now was done on the order of the president of CID-UNESCO, Dr. Lloyd Raftis, not Lloyd Raftis, Alkis Raftis. See, that's what happens when you don't sleep. And too many people calling. So, I was told the job was to start the program in the United States and then across the rest of the planet. The nation of China has been told they'll need 500,000 teachers to make this work. They've been trying to put that together under a variety of other subjects. Eventually, they'll come to us and want to find out how to fix what they've done. And we have had a few groups in Africa. Presently, we're working with hip hop culture, trying to unify that culture across continents, which I've already told you about. But it's not just hip hop culture. Hip hop culture is the largest dance culture on the planet and deserves to be preserved. But in light of what is going on a global nature, not just with the climate, but with all the disagreements and problems that have been spreading across the globe, our job is preservation. That is our first job. And of course, building new structures wherever need be to support that preservation of culture on a global level. So I was just talking to Lloyd earlier about the fact that I found a few people in Sri Lanka who are interested in joining the Uni group. Those arrangements will be ongoing, but we do see this already starting to happen in Malaysia, certain portions of northern India, and just in Pakistan as well. So it's a very large effort. Connecting all the people that are doing this work is going to be the biggest amount of fun, right, Lloyd?
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is basically the UnityNet that's being built is originally I was calling it a support network, but I now am referring, of course, as an empowerment network, where we're leveraging. Originally, it was a conversation with Andrew, and again the other people from the original Global Unity Business Group, and saying, okay, we've got these tree planting programs. What can we also create that is that allows us to create a program of community engagement at the local level? So that idea of localizing the global goals. So we focused on food as a universal thing, that everybody in the world is equal when it comes to food because everybody eats. That was sort of the idea, is we can bring humanity together through food, because universally everybody eats. Well, everybody, of course, everybody breathes, everybody does all sorts of things, but we thought, okay, food. We'll leverage the original Science for Peace program we built many years ago, this Science for Peace Climate Smart Food program, which can be a certification system for certified climate smart food. And we'll say, okay, we can create regenerative. It was actually the result of conversation I had with another group out of Africa, out of, sorry, not Sierra Leone, but the country next door, French-speaking country, Cameroon. So the conversations I had many years ago with the people in Cameroon, those young people were working with the United Nations and creating the Climate Smart Ag Youth Network. So I had been involved with them for a couple of years, and I saw that they were promoting conventional agriculture and GMOs and other solutions that I didn't really agree with. So I wanted to create a system and program, and this was the Climate Smart Food program we developed at Science for Peace for regenerative climate smart food, essentially, rather than the GMO or other conventional agricultural systems. And so we developed the protocols. I thought, okay, I'm going to leverage those protocols to help develop this network, as using food as a universal thing for all people. And so we would begin to educate people about that whole concept of regenerative climate smart food. And how would we do that? We would build these unity gardens. And of course, there's the original concept of unity gardens came about because we were doing a unity pandemic, which was the original name of the campaign we ran with the people in Bermuda. And so Unity Pandemic changed to Unity Network. And from that, UnityNet International, of course, was born, where we're building this network beyond all these countries. And so the concept was community engagement for empowerment of local entrepreneurs. And this idea of focusing on the entrepreneurship, which we now call humanitarian entrepreneurship, which essentially means any entrepreneur who's running a business to help implement the solutions to achieving the global goals, the SDGs. This idea came through a partnership we had with an organization here in Canada called the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities. And Joan Kerr, who said, focus on entrepreneurship, because this is what I'm doing already, building what we call climate smart, these victory gardens So her program was the Victory Gardens, ours is the Unity Gardens, which includes the Victory Gardens, or potentially could, but also includes essentially the food forests, those Unity forests we now call them, along with what we call Wheel of Life farms, which is a concept for a closed loop regenerative farming system developed by a gentleman out of Vietnam, plus of course Angela's Climate Smart Kitchens, which was actually something that was originally promoted by Terrence Mayfield out of 5 Points Youth Foundation, again in Los Angeles, who said this is a great way to engage communities, even in cities, to have a conversation about food and food security and this concept of climate smart food, regenerative solutions. And then finally, we're talking, of course, to the PodNet Co-op, which is global, actually based in Iceland, in saying these are regenerative buildings, essentially. These solar roof buildings, the pod buildings, will also promote those solutions as well. So that's why we came up with the 5 different types of Unity Gardens, as all of them learning centers essentially in local communities that would be set up with the help of these support networks or empowerment networks that we're trying to build through the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation. So the trees of peace and reconciliation, the first point of entry to begin the conversation with the local community, not just the government, but also the Chamber of Commerce and the businesses and the arts groups and everybody in the community, including the people in the faith communities as well, because the idea was originally as well, we're trying to showcase interfaith harmony, where we can, and that was the ceremony that actually took place in Bermuda, was between the Imam of Bermuda and the head of the Catholic Church, I believe, or maybe it wasn't Catholic, but Christians and Muslims coming together in support of young people, especially, to work together to help to achieve these goals, the global goals, the SDGs, and building this network is really what we're about. This empowerment network in the local community. So it is a challenging program to try to implement, but we're moving forward in
Awesome.
At least my
Thank
role
you.
to develop the network.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Lloyd, for that elaborate and comprehensive introduction of UNI and UNAD. Right now, we are at par with the Genesis. And I thank you also for touching on the tree planting event for peace and reconciliation that took place last Sunday. That is the 5th, not last Sunday, that was last Sunday, but one, because last Sunday was yesterday, on the 5th of June. And in light to that, we had an online event that was happening in Canada for the same event, marking the World Environment Day. I attended on Facebook Live, and I saw Mr. Carlos, who is the Continental President, on the Zoom call. So maybe before we move on to the next bit, Mr. Lloyd, you can just give us a brief of the event during the World Environment Day that happened on the 5th.
Yeah, so
just a brief highlight.
Mm-hmm. So basically what we did this year, so 2022, we planted 2 trees of peace and reconciliation in the city of Mississauga. So this was led again by Mark Krasangi, myself, and a lady who's actually a member of our Bubble Fund network as well. So we had that event. We planted the first tree in a public park in Mississauga, and that was actually done with the city of Mississauga. So they gave us 10 trees of peace and reconciliation. We planted there. There were actually some guests that came into that tree planting. They came all the way from Ottawa. It's around a 5-hour drive just to get from Ottawa to Mississauga. So we actually did connect with a group that hopefully will also be able to connect us with Indigenous people, not just here in Canada, but also in the US. And so we did those 2 tree plantings we did. One was actually at as I mentioned, in this public park with the city. So that will be our entry point for conversations with the city of Mississauga to move forward and develop our INAB collaborative, as we call it, the Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaborative, which is the empowerment network for the entrepreneurs, the humanitarian entrepreneurs who are trying to set up these unity gardens in the local communities. So that has taken place with the city. So we can now go back to the city and say, okay, we'd like a follow-up meeting.
A little bit more briefly, please, Lloyd.
Yeah,
I know it's been an hour now, please.
So the second tree planting we did was actually on a private property, and that was a person that was introduced to us by Lisa-Anice. It was a dance studio. And so we've got that second tree planting with this cultural community of dance that will allow us to hopefully do some ceremonies following.
Thank you so very much, Lloyd. Also, Sam, excuse me. There was a simultaneous tree planting that we recorded on Zoom in Kenya at the same time. Lisa-Anice, briefly, and then we're going to go live.
There is an echo on your end, Mr. Andrew.
Thanks, I corrected it. How about now?
Briefly, Lisa, it's been an hour already, briefly.
No worries. I wanted to state that the Continental Dance Club is run by the Torner family. Brian Torner, who is their figurehead, is a world champion out of Blackpool, England. I believe he won his championship back in 2000. I hope to bring other people in as well to assist us with consolidation of the cultural groups and making sure everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Lisa. Now moving forward, I hope you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you fine. We can hear
Thank you very much. Yeah, moving forward with our agenda for the day. I wanted to just have us get a brief of the event that happened on the 5th. And I want to mention briefly the countries that participated in the tree planting event to mark the World Environmental Day. And these are the countries that participated in the event. The first country we have Canada, and then we had Sierra Leone, we had Uganda, we had Tanzania, we had Kenya, we had South Africa, we had Guinea, Conakry, we had Ghana, and lastly, we had the USA, that is in Maryland. Congratulations and thank you for everyone who participated in the event. And I want to also thank Mr. Andrew for giving us coverage on the Sunday, that is on the 5th of June. Thank you very much for that.
We lost your voice, Jane. Queen Nina, do you have the agenda?
Okay,
Okay.
have that agenda here.
We have multiple co-hosts. So any of you that are co-hosts, please make sure that we monitor the mute and also monitor the people waiting to attend. Thank you.
Yes, I just muted someone, Prince Andrew. I got you.
Thank you. And when the agenda moves towards TOT.
Okay.
Yes, Juliet?
Yes, no, in that case, good evening, everybody. We can continue until Madam Secretary General comes back. We actually supposed to be getting remarks from her, but I think that is linked to number 4, which is the report on tree planting activities. She has just given us a summary of the countries that participated, and based on what we saw coming in today, there were still a few other countries, I think about 2 more countries, that reported on their activities, though they didn't take place on the 6th. So we will be capturing those. As part of that point, Bishop Ayodele and myself are tasked with putting together a report of what activities have happened, but also the data that will help us going forward. We've sent out a form. It's a very simple form that will help us to capture the trees, the type of trees, how many trees were food tree or fruit tree. But what's important is for us to be able to build on what was done this year to make sure that going forward is able to, it gets supported. I believe that in a lot of countries it was done on a small scale, but there are opportunities for it to get bigger going forward next year. But remember that tree planting is a daily activity. It's just that on World Environment Day, we highlighted. So in terms of the form, not very many people have been able to see the form. We will leave it in circulation. It is in the Africa UnityNet African Diaspora WhatsApp group. What I will do, I will also directly send it to the people who posted their pictures on the group saying that they did participate, just to make them aware that they need to fill in the forms. And that's the information that we'll be reporting on next week. We will give a small presentation on those activities and also the type of support that people need to make this important activity to get bigger and better for next year.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
thank you very much, Madam Juliet, for coming through.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, right now, without wasting more time, I want to invite Queen Mother Nina to take us through a brief introduction of a topic that is very dynamic and very sensitive and actually urgent at the moment. And I won't introduce the topic that she's going to introduce us to. I want her to do so. So Queen Mother Nina, you're most welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not quite. As I said, I'd like to live stream your presentation.
Sure.
I need time to do so. Just a moment, please.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, you have 10 minutes, Queen Mother Nina.
Can I have 15?
Okay, 15.
Yes.
You go.
Are you ready?
Well, I'll tell you what, Nina, let me just stop recording and I'll start recording and then we'll take it from there. That way your presentation will be clean and we can use it. So give me just a moment, Nina, just a second.
Okay.